Welcome back. We are back. As a matter of fact,
I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now.
what an eventful week we had.
Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire, man. I'm a night rider.
A lot of things going on.
Every time that I go up past
A
midnight,
lot of
I swear
things I had
get
to
higher.
take note.
Swear I gotta get higher now.
Books I had to mark and put on the shelf. This is another episode of Bookmarks with Bump, a social commentary podcast, where I dive into those Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I think I might just call it Twitter forever. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I dive into my bookmarks that I've kind of just left there on the shelf. I try to supply a comedic, motivational, encouraging, and inspiringly stupid way to digest current things that are going on in the world of sports, comedy, exercise, health, the full gambit of things, really. I get into work on Monday, and the first thing I see when I take my first little Twitter break there was I'm having a Joe Biden Monday after a Hunter Biden weekend. And I think out of the last 4 years, that's the greatest thing that has ever happened to this country, was that one single tweet. Because, I mean, it really sent me for a loop for a minute there. And, I mean, if you just think of the contrast of the two personalities as we've come to know them, that could quite possibly be exactly how you're spending your Monday after a weekend in the trenches. So here we are as we progress through the work week. Today was the league day for our golf league. We went out, played nice 9 holes there on the beautiful Pequabic Country Club, located in the northwest corner of Connecticut, where we were dealing with probably 95-degree temperatures with an 80 to 90% humidity rate. It was a swamp out there, and we were absolutely battling back and forth. Across the course, it was dry, and the balls were just continuing to roll no matter where you hit them. Everything was long today. So if you're going out to golf, club down, and try to hit a lofty shot. How fitting is it, because the Travelers Championship began today, located out in the Hartford County at the TPC River Highlands. One missing face from that tournament this year is Rory McIlroy. I bring Rory up because I just wanted to talk again about Bryson DeChambeau and his win last week, becoming a 2-time U.S. Open champion. Heading into that final round there at Pinehurst, Rory McIlroy was 496 of 496 from 4 feet or less, which is an incredible stat to be making those kinds of little clutch putts throughout the tour. And he just misses 2 of the most crucial, most needed putts. And you see that he's battling. He's really going through it. Finishing those tournaments has been a tough thing for Rory to do, to play well on Sunday, which is exactly what Bryson DeChambeau did. And he did it by hitting a once-in-a-lifetime shot. You talk about that bunker shot on hole 18 from 55 yards out. He hit it to just under 4 feet. The chances of going from a bunker from 55 or less, or from 55 or more yards out, in landing in that 4-foot zone where you can kind of give yourself an easy putt, the chances of hitting inside 4 feet from that area was 1.7. So you got to look at that and think that is one of the all-time best shots, especially considering Bryson being on camera not too long ago with a live promotional video saying his nightmare shot in golf. It's not a shank. It's not pulling it. It's not a shot out of thick fescue. The hardest shot for him to hit is a 60 to 50 yard bunker shot. And that's exactly what he did on hole 18 to seal the deal and become the U.S. Open champion. You can talk about whoever you want to talk about on the PGA Tour, and you can say whatever you want to say about guys who went to live. But when it comes down to performance and performing, hitting a shot like that in a moment where you need it, that is an ice in your veins type of moment. We're talking about nerves, the absolute nerves that you'd have to be dealing with in those moments to calm those nerves and slowly take 1 second of your life. That's about how long it takes to swing a golf club, to change the course of your life. That's an incredible moment. I mean, how do you really put that into words, honestly? How do you hate on a guy like that? You just can't. That's a picture-perfect finish. And now that we're talking about picture-perfect finishes, we'll stay on the golf topic. I mean, it was what I was doing today. It was what Bryson was doing last weekend. It's what the PGA Tour is doing this weekend in Connecticut. Last weekend, New England Patriots punter Bryce Behringer figured he'd drive out to the Berkshires and take a swing at the Mass Amateur qualifying round taking place there. He ended up shooting a 69 to come in first place and make the cut for the Massachusetts Amateur Championship in July, sinking a 25-foot birdie putt on hole 18. What a way to finish, right? What a way to finish, and what a way to start. You start your career out here in New England, and you're just going right into a little golf tournament, figuring, hey, I'll play, why not? I think I like a lot of things about this. It shows me that the New England Patriots locker room is going to have an incredible competitive spirit. It shows me that this guy is an absolute dog. It shows me that he's pretty dialed in. And so when we end up in a fourth down situation, which hopefully we don't as a New England Patriots fan, hopefully we're not ending up in those situations a lot with the electrifying new offense being supplied by Drake May. I wish you could see my face in that moment because I don't really know what we're doing as a team. But anyway, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of this Bryce fella. I think I'm pretty confident in the fact he'll be able to pin any team deep and give our defense a good field to look at. So he ends up shooting a 69 to come in first place, making the championship in July. Hopefully that's not a conflict of interest with his schedule pertaining to training camp. He has a chance to win a championship in Massachusetts. Speaking of which, speaking of champions, speaking of Massachusetts, let's speak about Boston. The Boston Celtics defeated the Dallas Mavericks in a 5-game series, 4-1, on their home court just a couple of nights ago, solidifying in their last 78 NBA seasons that their 61 playoff appearances and their 23 finals appearances have now accumulated them 18 world championships. The Boston Celtics are your 2023-24 NBA champions in a dominant fashion. They never lost 3 games in a row throughout the whole entire season. Joe Mazzulla becomes the youngest head coach since 1966-1967 season to appear in a finals, and the youngest since the 67-68 NBA season to become a world champion. In his second season as the head coach for the Boston Celtics, the last person to do that was Bill Russell, a Boston Celtic. What an absolute success story for a franchise, and for the city of Boston, for the New England region, as a matter of fact. Now, being in Connecticut, we're kind of in a midway point where a lot of people tend to switch and go to the New York side. We have a lot of New York team fans here in Connecticut. We also have a lot of Boston fans, so the pride was flowing through the streets of Connecticut this week. The amazing thing about this is that we were right there as a team, last winning in 2008. You think about that team and how they had shot after shot after shot at a chance to appear in the finals, appearing in the finals in 2007, losing to Kobe, coming back in 2008 and winning, going on and facing those Miami Heat LeBron teams. You know, the Boston Celtics pushed LeBron to Miami. He fell at the feet of the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times. The Celtics had this aura about them, like the success was always expected, but for those last, you think about the last 8 years in between that championship to when they drafted Jaylen Brown, and then the next year they drafted Jason Tatum with the 3rd pick in the NBA draft 2 years in a row. And now that's 2016. That's 8 years ago. It took them 16 years to get here. 16 years of trials and tribulations. and you look at the Boston Celtics teams, you always thought they had the chance to win the championship. You always saw all the potential of every player that was on the court. One of the best things I saw as the celebration of the championship was commencing was Celtics fans recognizing the players of the era that came before, and saying and thanking and pointing out how this championship was for players like Marcus Smart, Isaiah Thomas, Robert Williams III, Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, Terry Rozier, Kemba Walker, Jared Sullinger, Brandon Bass, Tyler Zeller, Jay Crowder, Taco Fall, Malcolm Brogdon. The list goes on. When you play in Boston, it seems like these players buy in, and the city buys in behind them. They're much like Philadelphia fans, how they just will let their minds be known no matter what, whether it's good or bad for their own players on their own team. Sometimes you don't understand that, hey, this is their favorite team. They are just relentless as a fan base. I try to be a little bit more understanding as a fan. You know, being an athlete's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. It's not just as easy as lacing them up and going out there. Nonetheless, you know, to see those players be recognized while this is all going on, I thought that was a really special moment. And just the way that there was a belief. We go from Doc Rivers coaching. Say what you will about Doc Rivers, but he brought Boston a championship with Rajon Rondo, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. When his tenure was over and they were starting to move all the pieces on the team, all of the core of the team, the heart of the Boston Celtics for so long, they then move on to Brad Stevens, you know, fresh out of the college scene from coaching at Butler, appearing in the NCAA tournament, going on a run. You were kind of wondering, I was wondering as a fan, like, what is this guy capable of with an NBA team? What is he going to be able to pull off? In a way, you know, you think about it, his career as a coach was up and down with all of the pieces that got moved around. When Rajon Rondo was the last of the team, and then he was moved off to the Mavs. Then we bring in Kemba Walker, and things aren't, you know, the greatest looking, and things start to fall apart for Brad Stevens towards the end of his tenure there. Even after all the great moves, Danny Ainge, behind the scenes, pulling the strings, making things happen. You know, we go through that period in time where we first sign Al Horford, and then we have our Al Horford period, and it goes, you know, we make the playoffs consistently, all of the time, but we fall short. There's always one missing piece. Brad Stevens decides, okay, it's my time, I'm going to bow out, and he does. And Ime Udoka comes in, and from an all-star break to the end of the season run like you've never seen, the Boston Celtics all of a sudden have this surge. And they become the team that everybody thought they should be. They make it to the NBA Finals and they fall short to the Warriors. And then before you know it, we don't have that coach anymore. He didn't take a contract with another team. He didn't get stolen away. He just kind of like didn't really know how to act in the workplace. And he fumbled it for the city for selfish reasons. And then you bring in Joe Mazzulla. And with the combination, I feel, over the last 2 years of Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens, what Brad Stevens can do. This year, he re-signed Jaylen Brown. He was able to trade Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams for Drew Holiday, who I think could have been the MVP of the series. The way he shut Kyrie down defensively in Boston, they took away Luka Doncic's ability to facilitate. They made it hard for the Mavericks to play the way that they like to play. And Joe Mazzulla had a plan for that. And then, after making these moves, Brad Stevens decides, I'm going to sign these guys. Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. Jason Tatum will be up for a contract soon. But before that, he was trading pieces that we thought were integral. When he traded Marcus Smart, I was devastated as a fan. I felt like Marcus Smart was the heart of the team. But what it showed me was that this is a new era. And the team isn't just one person's team. It's not just one heart. That's the whole team now. The way they play unselfishly, the way they move the ball, the way they find the perfect shot, the way they switch on defense, the way they communicate with one another. The team acts as a well-oiled machine. And they don't care who gets the credit. Jason Tatum being so congratulatory with Jaylen Brown's MVP, you know, that was something that people were trying to drum up a lot of drama about, and it didn't pan out that way. Because that's not what a team does. They don't act selfishly. Ime Udoka may have provided great results, but he wasn't the coach that the city needed. It was Joe Mazzulla. Danny Ainge did a lot of great things as team president, but it wasn't him that the city needed. It was Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens, the unselfishness must flow from the top, with Brad Stevens taking a step back, saying, it's okay, I won't coach anymore. I'll work behind the scenes. I'll do what a college coach does and put the pieces together to make a team that can go for a run. And these guys did. They dominated in their wins. They had a terrible loss in the mix there, but in the closeout game in the city of Boston, they dominated from start to finish. They went on a run and they never ended. Derek White smashed his teeth in, and he finished the game. That's how bad that this team wanted it. An incredible win, a life-changing series of events for the whole city of Boston. Speaking of life-changing, I have this thread here that I've bookmarked. It seems to be an excerpt from a book. I don't know how to reference the book. There's no really title or anything, but it's called If You'd Like to Change Your Life. Sometimes I like these types of things, so it's something that I bookmarked. Maybe it's a motivational passage. Let's dive into it here. If you'd like to change your life, you must first change the way you think about your life. Thoughts are not just thoughts. They are bridges and doors, and entryways and foundations. They magnetize and repel. They can build a house and tear it down. They can energize momentum or keep you idling within your own little world forever. Thoughts are investments, and they are decisions. The mind will generate an endless series of options, some inspiring and others terrifying, and so you must choose. You must choose what you will return to, what you will believe in, what you will place weight on. Because thoughts create feeling, and feeling creates desire. Desire creates action, and action creates reward. Reward creates more desire, and before you know it, a thought became the torch that led you down the path that is your life. If you would like to change your life, you must first change the way you think about your life. There never was another way. What a passage that is. That is a huge little piece of motivation, right? A huge little piece of encouragement. That's the idea that if you'd like to change your life, you have to think differently. You have to limit the options, right? There are always people out there, the naysayers, the doubters, the people who will tell you everything, every situation, every encounter, any possibility for the things that you're pushing for to go wrong. Who are they to say? Who are they to tell you the possibilities of what you can do? Those are the only places that you learn. You have these resources in life, and your resources are where you learn things. And if you're trying to do something you've never done, or if you're going into something with a new person, or if you're experiencing a new trouble, or going into a new endeavor, whatever it is that you've never done before, and you're out there looking for advice on it, you're out there looking for options, you're going to hear a bunch of situations. Those are all situations that you've never been in. So who's to say if that's how it would pan out for you? This is a little piece of, not just motivation, but this is a piece of confidence. This is something that makes me feel confident at the end there, that just that piece where you go, what the feeling creates, and how desire creates the action, and action creates reward, and reward creates more desire. That's huge, and that's real. A way that I can immediately relate that when it comes to running, when it comes to the endurance journey that I went on, that was not a reward that lit the torch, but it was the desire. The desire lights the torch. The thought of, I want to do this, that's the flame that carries you through. The first 5K I ever, quote, ran in, I finished in 40 minutes. I didn't know what a 5K was, and I didn't have an idea of how much I could run. This was about a month into my beginning to run. This was about 5 years ago, and where I was just on a walk. I was going for walks because I had plateaued, and I was stuck at a certain weight with just, exercising, doing calisthenics, and eating a lot better than I used to. So I started to go for walks, and really quickly, walks got boring for me. The thought was, I want to be healthier. I want to have a healthy body. I want to live longer. I want to reverse the damage that I've done to myself. And I want to do things that I've never done before. Starting with exercise, starting with diet. And then I would go for these walks, and walking got boring to me. And as soon as walking got boring to me, I knew that I needed something different. I thought, well, I'm in the best shape that I've ever been in my life. Maybe I could run. And I ran, and I couldn't run for more than a minute. I couldn't run for more than a minute straight. And instead of being discouraged in that moment, I realized I have to work for this. I have to earn this. And that's when the torch was lit. That's the action that was created by the desire. I wanted to run, and I knew after that the only way that I'd be able to do that is by doing it more. And so that 1 minute turned into 1 minute, and then 1 minute again, and 1 minute again. And I would take breaks, and I would run for a minute at a time. And then I would run for 2 minutes. And I would slowly build that up over time. One of my friends, Tyler, he took notice to me being healthy or having these healthy habits, and he was always including me on things that he was doing, going down to the track and running sprints and things of that nature. And one day he invited me down to the track with him, and I went. And that was the same day that the Ready to Run 5K was happening. And after we had done, some 400-meter jogs, some 100-meter sprints, he said, let's do the 5K. I said, what's a 5K? And now I can't stop doing them because the reward I eventually achieved created more desires. So I went in that 5K not knowing what it was, not wearing the right shoes, not, really educated on endurance running or what it is. Those 3.1 miles, it's not a very long distance to me, but it's quite long, especially in a day in the middle of the summer. So I go out and I'm taking breaks and I'm walking, and I finish that 5K in 40 minutes. If you average that out, that's like 12-minute miles or something like that, or even more. But when I crossed the finish line, seeing the camaraderie, seeing the people gathered, and, just the little picnic that happens after, the awards being handed out after, the pictures with the alumni club and everything like that, that was something that that was the reward that lit the torch and created more desire. I wanted to finish with running. And so I looked up ways to build myself to that distance. 3 weeks later, I was in Maine. After going through, a couple weeks in the Couch to 5K app that I ended up finding, that instead of just doing 3 days a week, I would do 5 days a week. I would do it almost every day. I loved running so much once I was able to start to do it. Once I got into that 5K, once I finished that, I knew that was something that I could and wanted to do, and I felt like I was pushed to do it. And it was something that held me really accountable, kept me on my P's and Q's, kept me out of trouble, kept me focused. So a couple of weeks later, I go out, I run another one, and I finish in 24 minutes. Which is about an 8-minute pace. And to me, I didn't ever think that was possible. When I was doing the mile runs in school growing up, I was never coming in at the right time. I was failing that every single time miserably. And here I was in 2019, 5 years ago, starting to do things that I never thought I could. And finishing in that time, that created more desire. I wanted to run further, and I end up running in a 5-mile road race, and I think about it and I go, I want to run in a half marathon. And later on in that year, I ran a half marathon in under 2 hours without even running for a year. That's what I accomplished because of the way I thought and the way I thought about myself. This is a passage all about confidence and what confidence can do for you. How confidence can change your life, how believing in yourself and pushing yourself towards the things that you want to do can actually absolutely change your life. Our minds are the most powerful muscle in our body. They make us move. If it wasn't for your brain, you wouldn't be able to achieve all the things that you're able to achieve. You have to not doubt yourself. Don't think about the injuries. Don't think about things that could happen to you if they're not happening to you. Think about what's happening. And when nothing is happening, it's you making things happen. That's what you can think about. That's all you're supposed to think about, is how you're going to make things happen. Believe in yourself. That's how you change your life. Be good to yourself. Being good to yourself means investing in yourself. And I talked about this a little bit in the last episode. I talked about how making investments in yourself are the most rewarding investments you can make. And one of the best ways to invest in yourself is to think about yourself in a more positive light. Stop thinking about what could happen. Think about what you want to happen and make it happen. You got to invest in yourself, right? And investing yourself by thinking confidently. I think that's the biggest piece or the biggest takeaway that I could take from this episode. Is that if you think confidently, if you believe in yourself, you can achieve more things than you ever could imagine. Sometimes that's all it takes. It's a little bit of push. And sometimes you don't understand that you can give that right to yourself. So why don't you? After last week's episode, I was extremely happy and extremely excited about the way that everything went. I got nothing but 5-star reviews, and I can't thank the listenership enough for doing that for me. I appreciate all your support. I appreciate everybody listening. If you haven't, could you please like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts? Like I said last week, this is a work in progress. I'm still finding my voice here. I'm still figuring out exactly how I'm going to structure the show. But this was a desire, and it created an action. And instead of sitting back and thinking about how imperfect it could be, I figured, why not just try it? And from the feedback that I got last week, I provided a lot of inspiration and a lot of motivation. And inside, I feel like that's a big purpose for why I'm here, why God put me here. And if that's what you get out of this, even if it's just one person, I'm perfectly fine with that. But continue to like, rate, subscribe, whatever it is you do on whatever platform you use. I'm happy to have you here with Bookmarks with Bump. And I think what I want to do is give out a little bit of a weekly challenge on a topic that I spoke on throughout the week. And today I want you to look at something that you've always wanted to do. Going off of this how to change your life thread I had here. Think about something that you've always wanted to do that you let the possibilities stop you from doing. The possibilities of something negative. Think about that thing right now for 1 second. And erase the negative possibilities. And picture yourself achieving whatever goal it was that you set for yourself. And this week I want you to try it. It could go great, it could go bad, whatever it is. Just try it and see what happens. Until then, you can find me on Twitter at BumpyBetSlips. You can email me at thebookmarkswbump@gmail.com. Email. You can comment on YouTube, Bookmarks with Bump. Find me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And until next time, have a great week.